Hello guys, this is part 3 of our Node.js Express MySQL and Sequelize series. In this video, I will explain you to what is REST API is, what are the key component of REST APIs and why REST API is useful. So without further ado, let's get started. What do you mean by REST API? REST stands for Representational State Transfer. REST API architecture is the way a web service is designed to follow certain rules, making it easy for different systems to talk to each other over the internet. Basically, this sentence is telling us that REST API are working on a set of rules that gives the ability to connect different systems over the internet. So now let's discuss REST key components. There are majorly 5 components. First, resource. Second one is HTTP method, which is get or post. Third is representation. Fourth one is hypermedia link, and fifth one is status code. Okay, so let me explain these terms to you one by one. First is resource. Resource are a key entity exposed by the API. Each resource is identify a unique web address called URI. Here are some examples of unique URIs. /API /v1/users /API/v1/products. The second one is HTTP method or a request method. These methods are useful to perform operation on resource which have unique URIs. Basically, we can perform insert, update, delete and select operation by using HTTP method. Here is the example of HTTP methods: get, post, put, patch, delete and many others. Then we have representation. Representations state the format of data that present the resource. That simply means in which format you are getting data. It could be in JSON or XML. Then we have hypermedia links. Hypermedia links represent the embedded link into the response that will help to navigate dynamically. This means a response return link in it, and by clicking on that link you will redirect to any other website. It could be a Google or anything. This enables dynamic navigation for us. Okay, then we have status codes. Status code represent the status of the request. For example, whatever request you have called, it has to be with status code. The status codes are 200 or 404 or 500. So we'll discuss this status code and request methods in upcoming video in details. So don't worry if you are confused by hearing words like request, response, request method, status code. In next video we'll cover these terms that make more sense for you to understand this video series. Now let me show you the graphical representation of the REST API architecture that we have just discussed. Okay, so this is the graphical representation of the REST API architecture. Here in this diagram you are clearly see that the client will request via HTTP method or request method. This is the combination of resource and HTTP method. Here you can see the example /API/v1/users. Let's consider this API is a get method. So normally a get request is used for returning the data. So your request URL is get https://domain.com. I mean any domain, then /API/v1/users. Okay, by hitting this request to the system, and it will return the data in JSON format as shown in diagram. Here this JSON format shows as a representation component from our key component, and along with this will return status code 200. Okay, so it will be represent the status code component. Finally, going through the entire process, request return back to the client. It is not necessary that a request always return data. Sometimes it may not return. These cases depend on what you are requesting. Let's quickly recap what we learned so far. We learned what is REST API key components, and how REST API flow works. Now let's understand why to use the REST API. Scalability. REST API can handle more user and traffic easily without needing big changes to the system. Second one is compatibility. REST API let different system, platform or language talk to each other. In this series, we are creating APIs in Node.js, but they can be used with any front-end language like Angular, React or Vue. It's not just for Node.js or any server-side language. It will communicate with any front-end language. And third one is simplicity. REST APIs use basic HTTP method and status code, which make them easy to understand and use. Fourth one is independence. The server doesn't need to remember previous interaction, which makes system simpler, more reliable and able to handle more user easily. So that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next episode. If you like the video, please do like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel.